Friends, in today's section we are planning to discuss from Aphorism 36 to Aphorism number 40. In Aphorism 36, I am trying to go directly through the aphorism. In Aphorism number 36, as discussed in the earlier aphorisms, as there are dissimilar and similar diseases, the dissimilar diseases cannot cure the diseases. We see in the 36th aphorism as here we see that if two dissimilar diseases meet in same human being, that one which possesses the stronger power will persist in the body by repelling the weaker one, as if that as disease also following the law of survival of the fittest. We know, even if I said that the one which possesses the stronger power will persist in the body by repelling the weaker one. It may be the already persisting disease can be the stronger one, and the later coming disease will be the weaker one, or the already persisting disease can be the weaker one and the coming new one will be the weaker one. Whatever be, the stronger dissimilar disease will suppress the weaker disease. Or if a person is suffering with a disease, then the other dissimilar disease, in the 36th aphorism we can say that if a person is suffering with a stronger disease, then the same will not be affected with a weak force of disease if it is completely dissimilar to it. Such as in aphorism, in this section of book we see CFS Hahnemann give us several examples. Mainly, as I wish to quote this example, that the plague is a very important disease which causes which was a fatal disease for a lot of a person once in world, which will not affect a person during that its supreme condition. Also, it is noted that it will not affect a person who is suffering with scurvy and eczema. Also, we can see that the epidemics will vomit the chronic diseased person from affecting because of the same principle, that it will not be repelled by the chronic stronger dissimilar disease. Be repelled by the chronic stronger dissimilar disease. We see that is, if a person is suffering with the epidemics, just in the dengue fever, malaria fever, such fevers are there. Such epidemics, sudden a flu is getting spread, but a person suffering from chronic hepatic problem or chronic cancers, chronic process cancers, these problems are suffered by a person, the same person will not get affected. We can markedly see that some persons of specific disease not even get attacked by the disease because already he is suffering with a stronger force. Then already he is suffering with a dissimilar disease. Then another dissimilar disease will not be getting. It will not permit. Why? We can see it in the coming aphorism. In aphorism number 37, we see that under allopathic treatment, the old chronic disease remain uncured and unaltered, and make it more fatal, because as the allopathic drugs and therapeutic methods are incapable of producing artificial, similar and stronger maladies that will cause us, or that maladies that will cause the cure as per the law of homeopathic law of nature, the cure is impossible. It will only result in suppression, that is, the stronger new dissimilar malady force by the allopathic therapeutics and drugs will suppress the disease, that the old chronic disease, from expressing. As soon as the medication or the allopathic drugs and the therapeutic control remove, it will return as more fatal and even return as the death of the person. We see that when a person is under medication for a long time, when we stop the medication, suddenly he is dying. As we see in the euthanasia, there is two kinds of euthanasia, active and passive. In the passive euthanasia, stopping of all kind of medication, the person will die. Why? The allopathic medication is completely suppressing the existing malady, which will produces the extreme suffering of the person. By seeing the extreme suffering of the person, we will stop that. We can kill him. We can take him from eternal suffering. We can give him the eternal freedom, eternal suffering. Leave him from the suffering. We can give him eternal peace. Let him rest in peace and give him death. Stop his all kind of medication. Then suddenly the suppressed force is get outburst and the person is dead. In case of the next Aphorism 38, we can more clearly see 38, 39. We can more clearly see what it is. In Aphorism 38, if the new dissimilar disease is too stronger than the existing disease, then the existing old disease will be suspended from animation till the new disease is cured or till it complete its course. This is by most allopathic therapy becomes success as it suppress the existing malady by the onset of administration of the dissimilar stronger drug force. This is the reason. This is what we discussed in 37th aphorism also. We said that the allopathic drugs will not cure, it will suppress. But why? It cannot cure because it is producing dissimilar, but it is too strong. As it is too strong, it will suppress it. When the external dissimilar stronger force of malady is stopped, as per the 38th aphorism, when it is stopped or the existing and the suppressing or suppressed disease, which as we know, when a hydroelectric pressure dam, it suppresses the natural flow of a river. When it is blocked, the water will accumulate and its power will be more and more and more. When the dam outbursts, the water will flow through the old place and cause a massive destruction. In the same way, when we take an atom and compress it, giving more pressure, as soon as we giving more pressure, it will burst out. What will happen in an LPG cylinder? Liquid petroleum gas. When the compression pressure of a liquid petroleum gas is over, it will burst out. What happened in Bhopal gas tragedy? We all know what happened in Bhopal gas tragedy. The methane gas in the methane gas cylinder is compressed. It compressed for more than what it can withstand. Then when the gas is same as allopathic drugs is doing, as the gas is suppressed, the more resisting power in it is getting vital. More resisting power in it get active, and as soon as its resisting power is get active, and as soon as the suppression force is getting weaker than the resisting power, it outburst, cause the massive Bhopal gas tragedy. In a similar way, the disease force is suppressed by the dissimilar superior drug force, dissimilar disease force produced by the allopathic drug. When this drug force, when this supreme force is stopped, as soon as from the onset of the suppression, by naturally, when we put a suppression over a person, the person will naturally begin from his mind itself, he will start to produce a resistance. Such a resistance will be developed in the disease force. As soon as the suppressing force is getting weaker, and as soon as the resistant force becomes superior to the suppressing force, the disease will outburst as more vital, more fatal and more vulnerable. Such cases are produced. Disease which is not cured by the dissimilar strong force will reappear and restart its course by more strong and more fatal power, more vulnerable power, more violent characters. We can see how in the next aphorism Dr. Hahnemann states that the therapeutics of the old school of medicine, which is now they themselves called they are the modern medicines, they are the old school of medicine, that is the allopathic therapy, proves the theory that nature itself cannot cure the dissimilar with the similar power. Even if it is too strong, it can only suppress or suspend the disease and not cure the disease by the administration of a dissimilar disease force. In the previous video, as we discussed it earlier, we said that the law of nature states that we cannot cure the activity of a similar thing cannot be done by a dissimilar thing. The activity of this cap cannot be done by this cap in case of this pen, and the activity of this cap in case of this pen will not be done by this cap. The similar thing is, we are observing that the nature itself cannot cure the disease with a dissimilar power. Even if it is too strong enough, it can only suppress or suspend. See, this cap also close the lid, same as this, but it will not last long. Same. It is only suppressing or suspending the work, suspending the antibody. Same. He states that the allopaths are doing nothing but debilitate and only suppress or suspends the existing malady for a short time span. This time span shall be varied. Some cases of diseases, the patient will survive for a long time, more than 15 years or 20 years. After 20 years, sudden outburst will come back. And for a short time, that's a short time span. Without being able to cure them. They cannot be able to cure them, so they are practicing this method, the same theories that they are studying to suppress it. As soon as we use the dissimilar suppressive method, it will add new disease to the person and never cure him, which we can explain, which he is explained detailedly in the next aphorism of aphorism number 40. After the long exposure, that in the aphorism number 40 we see a more advanced theory, but in the last day we see that it adds new dissimilar symptoms. We know, for the suppression of a fever, for the suppression of the cold, for the suppression of headache, the allopath prescribes acetaminophen, that is paracetamol. The chronic administration of acetaminophen produces acetaminophen poisoning. The acetaminophen poisoning which leads in hepatic derangement and hepatic diseases. That's what he says. As soon as we use the dissimilar suppressive method, it will add new disease to the person and never cure him. It will not cure him. Don't think that it in the aphorism will never cure him. In the only considering that the we will say, oh no, if the person is administered to allopathic treatment, he cannot be cured. No, there's nothing like that. The allopathic dissimilar disease or dissimilar symptoms produce or dissimilar suppressive powers or methods cannot cure the disease. But if we use a exactly prescribed remedy as per the totality of symptom, as per the homeopathic methods, as per the methods that we have studied, and as we are giving an artificial, similar, stronger drug force, then the person can be completely cured. In the next aphorism number 40, we see that after a long exposure to the new, stronger malady, the old one will become adapted and join with it to produce a complex disease which is too hard to cure. That is, when in some cases, when we put a cap dissimilar to another one pen, then sometimes it is very hard to remove it. This pen caps are common, but when we put it, it is not working. When we put it, it is too hard to remove. Such a way, as after a long exposure to new, stronger malady, the old one will become adapted and join with it to produce a complex disease which is too hard to cure. We know that the fatal dose of arsenic is 2 grams, but the chronic administration of the arsenic will make the person adapted to it till 3 grams. In the similar way, after a long-term exposure, the new dissimilar disease will make the old to adapt with it and adapt itself to the parts of human which are favorable or susceptible for it and produce more stronger disease or suffering to the host person. When this, see, this is a dissimilar camp and this is a dissimilar, two are dissimilar. When this thing, first they will not, so it will not suspend, and soon as it gets adapted, it is now adapted, it will produce more effort, more pain to remove. See, in the similar way, when both disease join together to produce a complex disease, it will produce more and more suffering to the person. As in case of rheumatic fever, as if the rheumatic fever is completely cured by removing group A beta hemolytic streptococcal bacteria from the throat itself, then it will not produce rheumatic heart disease. But if it is suppressed, it is not cured, if it is suppressed, then soon it will lead to rheumatic heart disease. And it will produce more symptoms, even if it is not cured, even if it is not completely cured, it will get rheumatic heart disease. It will also cause rheumatic cephalic disease, RCD, rheumatic cephalic disease, rheumatic hepatic disease, rheumatic joint disease, that is polyarthritis, subcutaneous effusion, more symptoms, more sufferings in a similar way. So that's what Hahnemann says, that the use of artificial similar disease, that in all this section we are proving or we are studying that the homeopathic law of cure, homeopathic law of nature's, what is exactly true, that the weaker force or weaker manifestation can be completely cured by the administration of a stronger manifesting power which is similar to it. Once more, I think these videos are helpful for you. Please read the textbook of Organon of Medicine. Thank you.